one of the items on the agenda for tonight was, there was some footage that surfaced, and I've spoken about Harry Mackay in this instance doing his speed training with the Speed Project in Melbourne. He started doing it last year, and it started to grow some legs in the sense that other players from other clubs are now working with this same company to work on their speed. So you'll see, if you go on their Instagram, you'll see, their weekly rankings, who has the fastest, from 0 to 10 meters, and then I think 0 to 60 meters, and who has the fastest, speed in terms of kilometers per hour. And then it went through another layer today because there was some footage on Channel 7 about our boys training and doing scrimmages on a footy field with players from other clubs. I think I saw Jeremy Howe and, Jordan Ridley with Harry Mackay and Pendlebury and Taylor Adams and whatnot. And I guess it prompted a bit of a reaction that I saw today on Twitter, because there is a school of thought, and it's whether you call it a conservative school of thought, an old school of thought, or just a competitive school of thought. But there is a school of thought that, we shouldn't be playing. They shouldn't be mates. It's off season. They should be doing training on their own or with their own, teammates. I don't want to see Harry Mackay matched up against Jordan Ridley in a little scrimmage. What's your take, Pom?
Well, you know that I'm archaic. So, I mean, I'm of the school that in my little head, I like to think that these guys hate each other. So I'll validate it, because when I was a golfer, I had a lot of mates who were golfers, and I found it very hard to play golf with them recreationally or go to the driving range with them, because if it was the same sport, I felt like I was either giving something away or I lost my competitive edge. When I went out, I liked to want to take everything from them, their wives, their families. I had to get into that mindset. I'm going to dominate you and own you and take you back. But I do understand that we are now in 2021, and I've got no doubt that they do it. I prefer not to see it, though. I like to keep the story illusion in my little mind that, Patrick Cripps goes to bed at night with a voodoo doll of Ollie Wines, and he's just sticking needles in his ACL. Like, that's what I want from my players. But I've got no doubt they're in the same industry. They're going to have beers and be friends and train together and stuff. But I don't personally like it. I know I'm old-fashioned and you're going to hate me for it, Taz, but I don't like to see it.
I'm not going to hate you for it. I just think I think there's more to be gained from it than what people believe. I mean, look, at the end of the day, yeah, it would be great if Harry and Jacob Wiedering, for example, just 365 days a year, trained with each other, on each other, and got each other better. But the reality is, when they're in their off season, I just think, Harry's the example because he was in the footage. He goes there, he sees the other, and it's not like he's training with just random players. We're talking about gun players, Taylor Adams, Jordan Ridley. We're talking about serious players. I just think there's something to be learned from it. And at the end of the day, as long as when we play against Essendon, Harry runs through Jordan Ridley and we see that competitiveness on game day, then I'm okay with it. But if I start seeing things like, he didn't go hard enough in a contest, I think when we played Essendon, if you remember, Zach Merritt, he sort of let Cripps run and kick that goal. And if I was an Essendon supporter, I wouldn't have liked that, because that they're, that they are mates. But you see it everywhere in the world. You see it in the NBA. They do scrimmages with each other in the off season all the time. I believe it gets more out of them, to be honest. I remember when I used to play basketball, we used to do scrimmages and whatnot with people from other teams. And I'm a competitive asshole. It actually made me more competitive to see what shape they were in the off season, and it gave me a little bit more juice of, okay, gee, he's looking good right now. I need to step it up a bit more. Stuart, this is a good one. He said, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So I think there's a method to the madness. And I don't know. I saw the reaction. I just didn't think it warranted a big deal. That's all.
I don't think it's a big deal. Just me personally, though, I just like to see them mentally just hate these people. There is some people out there. Great example, Roger Federer spends a lot of his time with other players and his own rivals, hitting balls with them. Doesn't do him any harm because he can switch off. just I always judge everyone like myself. It's probably the worst thing to do. And I know that if I'm too pally with someone, that affects my competitive edge. That I suddenly start thinking, oh, I don't want to hurt this guy. He's my mate. And I need to have that little separation where I can go, you know what, I want to take everything off you, and then I'll give you a hug and build you back up. So I'm fine. Harry strikes me as the kind of guy that, I mean, he goes through his brother, I'd imagine, when they play. Harry looks like that kind of guy that if he's in the back garden at Christmas and his grandma throws a ball in the air, he's going to lay an elbow into Ben's jaw. So, like, it makes me feel that way anyway. But nah, I understand where people are coming from. I'm old school too. But it's the modern day game, isn't it? Where they don't hate each other. It's just a big love fest.